Welcome to today's explainer. If you've ever stared down a literal mountain of financial documents and felt your blood pressure immediately spike, well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're diving straight into how to untangle the marital estate. Specifically, we're going to look at how the Asset Manager module within Thrive Financial brings some much-needed clarity to complex financial separations. Let's get into it. So here's the stark reality that so many folks face during a divorce. How do you actually untangle an entire lifetime of shared finances without paying an accountant, $450 an hour to do it for you? Because let's be real, gathering divorce finances is historically just absolute chaos. We're talking about opaque banking histories, statements that are just completely missing, and a general lack of transparency that leaves people feeling overwhelmed and, frankly, incredibly vulnerable. But it doesn't have to be that way. Our goal for this explainer is pretty straightforward. We want to understand exactly how to transform those scattered documents into a single, undeniable source of truth. We're talking about moving far, far away from those messy desktop folders, those endless back-and-forth email threads, and those terrifying spreadsheets. Instead, we're building an ironclad financial inventory. All right, Section 1. Let's meet the asset manager itself and see how it actually handles this massive data problem. I absolutely love this quote directly from the platform's core philosophy. See every account, transfer, discrepancy, and settlement lever in one place. Think about that for a second. The asset manager isn't just some static list or a digital filing cabinet. No way. It's a dynamic marital estate command center. It's really the central nervous system for your entire case strategy, where all that parsed data finally comes together to actually tell a story. And this is the destination. When we bring order to the chaos, the result is this beautifully clean interface. You've got the big numbers sitting right at the top, total assets, total debts, and your estimated net worth. And right below that, every single piece of property, every account, every loan is perfectly cataloged with its designated ownership and exact value. It takes all that raw, messy data and turns it into a totally clear, actionable overview. Okay, moving right along to Section 2, building the financial inventory. Let's look at how we actually put this foundation together. Now, the sheer flexibility of this tool is absolutely crucial. You see, it isn't just tracking bank accounts. The system lets you catalog literally every possible asset type. You can enter the family home under real estate, log the vehicles, break down those super complex investment and retirement accounts, and even log business-linked property or, valuable collectibles. The big takeaway here? Absolutely no detail gets left behind. The whole shebang goes into the exact same inventory. Now, here is the really crucial point in this process, and I want you to really focus on this for a second. It's how this software categorizes ownership. Why? Because this dictates all the math later on. Assets can be tagged as marital, meaning they were acquired during the marriage and, they're subject to division. They can be non-marital for individual property belonging strictly to spouse 1 or spouse 2. Or, and this is a big one for complex cases, they can be hybrid, which means mixed assets that need specific percentage breakdowns. So let's look at the actual mechanics. How do we do this? Adding an item is this highly intuitive 4-step process. First up, just select your asset category from a dropdown. Easy. Second, punch in the current dollar value. Third, assign that vital property type we literally just talked about, marital, non-marital, or hybrid. And finally, step 4, add any custom notes you might need and hit save. It is really that simple to start building up this ironclad record. For example, adding a brand new asset, let's say real estate, pops right up in a super clean window. And it's totally seamless to jump back in and edit those details later if, say, a new appraisal comes in or an address needs updating. You, the user, have complete granular control over the descriptions, the values, and the ownership assignments at all times. But hey, an estate isn't just about what you own, right? It's equally about what you owe. The asset manager handles liabilities in the exact same way. Whether you're tracking a hefty tax debt, a massive mortgage, or just standard credit card debt, those liabilities drop into the very same unified view. And that right there is exactly how the system accurately calculates that true estimated net worth we saw earlier. Next up, Section 3, managing income and children, because we need to capture the living, breathing financial factors too. There's a dedicated section specifically for handling income and children details. It easily logs the kids' names, their ages, and critically, the custody arrangements like, say, a 50-50 shared custody split. Right alongside that, you capture the spouse's base salaries, annual bonuses, whatever other compensation is floating around. Having all this data perfectly organized right next to the hard assets is absolutely vital. Why? Because it feeds directly into those complicated support calculations down the line. Now, a term that comes up quite a bit in tricky situations is imputed income. If you're not familiar, this is basically the earning capacity attributed to a spouse, rather than what they are actually declaring. It gets heavily utilized when you suspect someone is voluntarily underemployed, or maybe they're getting undisclosed financial perks from a business. Let me tell you, this is a massive leverage point when someone is actively trying to hide their true earning power. And the software handles this beautifully. It manages standard income entries like your base salaries, sure, but it also gives you a simple little checkbox to just mark as imputed income. This lets you clearly flag those earning discrepancies right on the official record. You can even add custom notes explaining exactly why that income is being imputed in the first place. All right, we've made it to Section 4, powering the final settlement. This is where all that data entry pays off big time. Instantly, the dashboard takes all those raw numbers you've been meticulously entering and generates these gorgeous high-level breakdowns. You're not just staring at a wall of spreadsheet text anymore. You get this crystal-clear donut chart showing exactly where the value is sitting. For instance, suddenly realizing that real estate makes up over 50% of the estate, while retirement accounts are holding about 22%. I mean, that immediately changes how you approach dividing things up. It drastically reduces your cognitive load and instantly clarifies your strategy. Watching these asset and debt distributions dynamically update gives you some incredible visual insights. It actively compares actual account distributions against the declared amounts from tax returns. What does that do? It surfaces the big picture and honestly highlights potential hitting apps that previously would have been completely buried in hundreds of pages of bank statements. So let's take a step back and look at why we did all of this. Because we took the time to meticulously build this financial inventory within the asset manager, it now acts as a flawless engine. This single source of truth feeds every single downstream tool on the platform, from generating AI settlement proposals to calculating the exact equalization math. It literally becomes the bedrock of your settlement negotiations. Move from missing evidence to negotiation leverage. I mean, that quote perfectly captures why organizing your data this way is a total game changer. When you utilize a tool like this, you're no longer playing defense. You aren't frantically scrambling to find a missing tax return or arguing endlessly over an account balance. Instead, you're looking at a math-backed, undeniable reality. You are strategizing from a position of absolute power. And here is the ultimate payoff. Because your asset manager inventory is rock solid, it feeds the settlement agreement tool directly. You can literally drag and drop percentage splits. Imagine just assigning 80% of a retirement account to one spouse and 20% to the other with a flick of the mouse. The software models the equalization math instantly without missing a beat, all because it trusts that foundational data you just built. Which leaves us with one final question to ponder. Are you ready to build your ironclad financial inventory and finally transform all that chaos into a winning settlement strategy? Let me tell you, when you stop fighting the paperwork and start leveraging a structured asset manager, the entire landscape of a financial separation completely changes. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, stay focused, and go take control of your financial truth. Catch you next time.